Hey guys, I'm Pixel Dan, and this is a review of the He-Man quarter-scale polystone statue from Pop Culture Shock. That's right, Pop Culture Shock is giving us a line of collectible quarter-scale He-Man and the Masters of the Universe polystone statues. Highly collectible statue pieces done in this immense style. Let's go ahead and take a look at the first one in the series, He-Man. As you can see, it comes in gorgeous, fully enclosed box packaging, featuring some great artwork and an image of the He-Man statue right there on the front of the box. All around the box is bright and colorful, and we have some images of He-Man straight out of the Filmation cartoon series, which is what this statue is based on. The back of the box gives us a couple different views at different angles of the statue, and below that we even have a style of a bio that looks just like the Masters of the Universe Classics packaging. So upon removing this statue from the box, there is some minor assembly required. First and foremost, we have the large Castle Grayskull jaw bridge base. You'll notice the bottom of He-Man's feet have pegs as well as little metal rods that will plug in nice and firm to that Castle Grayskull base. Moving up to the top of the figure, you'll notice that he comes out of the package bald. That's because He-Man here features two different sets of hair pieces that you can put onto the figure. They just have a square peg on the inside and plug nicely onto the top of the figure. The reason he's got two different hair pieces is because he has two different styles here. One of them is more of a straight kind of cut, and the other one's got a little bit more body to it, having a bit more of a bulbous look down at the bottom as it billows outwards. That way you can get your desired look of He-Man. Want to make him look a little bit more cartoon accurate, or you want him to look otherwise, it's very easy just to swap those hair pieces. You can just pull one off and pop the other one on in its place very easily. And that's going to bring us to our fully assembled statue of He-Man, posing with his sword held aloft in that famous transformation pose. As you can see, this is a massive statue. I mean, just look at this thing sitting on the table next to me. From the bottom of the base to the tip of the power sword, he stands 29 inches tall. Huge statue. This thing is awesome and will definitely make for a really cool feature piece in your collection. Now let's go ahead and look over the whole design of this statue. As I said, it is modeled after the Filmation He-Man, fully capturing that transformation pose that is famous from that cartoon series. Looking at the base is probably one of my favorite parts of the entire thing, because the details worked into the jaw bridge are spectacular. It's got that very cool kind of stone look to it. There's lots of great little grooves and cracks kind of sculpted into all the teeth jutting out from it. And it's done in this really nice dark green paint, but it's got some nice kind of brushwork on there also. So there's some variance in the colors there. Really looks fantastic, and it's a great base for He-Man to be standing on top of. Moving our way up and looking at the statue itself, you can tell it's definitely got that animated look, being based on the way He-Man appeared in the Filmation cartoon series. So he's very bright and vibrant. He's got that tan skin with kind of the darker reddish-brown boots and loincloth, and then the bright orange belt and bracers. And then strapped across his chest is sort of a silverish blue color harness with the red iron cross right there in the center. Flipping it around to the backside, you'll even notice that he has the sheath for a sword, which was another thing that we saw on He-Man in that cartoon series. Moving up to the face, this is where when we come to statues that are based on cartoons, it could be hit or miss, because sometimes it's hard to translate that 2D animated style into a 3D statue. But I definitely think Pop Culture Shock did a pretty good job of capturing the look of He-Man. From most angles, he looks spectacular. Looks like he jumped right out of the cartoon series into this 3D model. Looking straight on at his face is probably a bit odd, but that's also because we're not really used to looking at He-Man straight on when he's in this particular pose. I think it looks pretty great in statue form, and I definitely give props to the sculptors at Pop Culture Shock for doing such a great job of translating this 2D cartoon into a beautiful 3D statue piece. And then of course being held aloft above his head is that classic Filmation style power sword, done in a nice kind of metallic silver that's almost got a little bit of a blue glisten to it. It's very cool looking. So this is a very mighty statue on its own, but another really cool thing is that Pop Culture Shock is offering a limited edition piece that includes a packed in Orko to display with it. Limited to only 350 pieces, it's the Pop Culture Shock exclusive that includes Orko to display right there with He-Man. In order to do this, we've got this really cool kind of translucent flying base that plugs onto the back of the Castle Grayskull jaw bridge. There are 3 embedded magnets that will actually cling this to the base. You'll see that there's a little spot on the back, and you can just kind of clip that right into place there. It's got a pretty nice tight grip with those magnets, but I do feel like it's still a little loose, so I would definitely be careful if you plan to move the statue around once you attach Orko. I would definitely always make sure you take Orko off first before moving the statue around. Next, we have our polystone Orko there. He's got some nice weight to him. And there's a little magnet on the top of this little clear flight stand, as well as a magnet inside of Orko there. There's a hole underneath his little skirt, so you can just plug him onto the top of that base. And now we have Orko hovering above He-Man's shoulder. Orko is another great design. Again, they once again did a fantastic job of translating the 2D cartoon look into 3D form. Great colors there. He's got the pink scarf, kind of an orangish hat, and those maroon robes with the black Orko circle going right there across the chest. And Orko even has a bit of interchangeability himself. You'll notice in his right hand, he's holding onto a golden wand. Well, if you want to, you can actually remove the right hand. It's just also done with a magnet system there. So we can kind of pop that out of place. And instead we can plug in this alternate wand, which has the little circle at the top of it. Almost has a bit of a 2000X inspiration to it there. So that way you have 2 different ways you can also display Orko. And again, if you don't want to display Orko on this, if you just want He-Man, the cool thing is that's all magnetic. So you can just pop Orko off there and you can have He-Man standing by himself. Alright guys, it's comparison time. Just so you can get a good idea of how big this statue is, here's the Masters of the Universe Classics He-Man figure standing on the base so you can see how much this Pop Culture Shock statue towers above him. So there you go, my friends. There's a look at the quarter-scale polystone He-Man statue from Pop Culture Shock. It's a really gorgeous piece. Definitely a high-end collectible for hardcore fans of Masters of the Universe. If you're a big fan of the Filmation cartoon series, this is definitely a premier signature piece to add to your collection. Now this statue has been selling out rapid fire, so it might be a little hard to come by. So happy hunting, my friends, and until next time.